Hello and welcome to another AIC video. Today is a bit of a special day. This month my son is turning 12, and so I decided to get him kind of a special gift, something a little bit different than I normally would get a kid for their birthday. When I was around his age, my uncle worked for a law firm, and they went through a huge round of replacing all the computers in their offices with new ones, and the old ones, which were very lightly used, were just going to be recycled. So anybody who wanted one of them could have one of their 486 machines with a 25 megahertz processor, just minus the hard drive. It was a complete package: computer, screen, keyboard, mouse, even a printer. All I had to do was obtain my own storage. They even gave me the disk to reinstall Windows. This first computer was really my awakening to computers and technology in general. This was in the early 90s. The family computer up until that point was an IBM with an 8086 processor. And so this was such a massive leap forward. I felt like I was blazing new ground. Games, graphical interfaces, it didn't just have Windows, it had Windows 3.11 with networking. Not that I had any network at home to connect to, but mainly what it really did was give me a good foundation on how computers actually work. I learned how to write my own programs in DOS, how to navigate the OS via command line, keyboard shortcuts, etc. From there, I learned to build my own websites and moved on to programming in Java. And to this day, my career is in computers still. My main focus is on infrastructure, but I'm so grateful to this day for the background I had that I gained on that old 486. My son has shown a strong interest in computers. I don't know if he will follow my footsteps in the IT field, but I thought he would at least appreciate really getting a better understanding of computing, and I felt that going back to some basics would really be a good start. So I went on the internet and I found this, a Compaq Armada e500. I was not looking specifically for a compact, but what I was looking for was a computer that was already running Windows 98, had a floppy and CD-ROM drives, was fairly cosmetically complete, and it had a power cord. And a big caveat is it had to come in around $100 or less. That's what my budget was for a system for him. And let me tell you, this list was really short. The last few years, as my generation has gotten a little bit older and hit the point where we have some disposable income, anything that falls under that more vintage computing category has really skyrocketed in price. Even some of the computers that I have in my collection that I bought just a few short years ago for like 25 bucks now go for well over $100. If not $200 for some of those. Now, this laptop is running a Pentium 3E at 450 megahertz. It came with a 12 gigabyte hard drive, 128 megs of RAM, a 14-inch screen running at 1020 by 768, and that floppy and CD drive that I really wanted. It has pretty decently loud speakers. They're actually here on the palm rest, and a track point. It does not have a touchpad. Other similar models did, but I couldn't tell from the description if this did or didn't. It looked kind of weird. It doesn't, but that's not the end of the world. The track point is more than useful, and it comes with a single USB 1.1 port. This was another want, but not a requirement. But in the end, I'm glad I was able to find a laptop that met my needs with one, especially as I'm transferring files to and from the system and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work with this older version of Windows. I definitely burned a few CDs trying to get a few different things to work, which has been a while. My main laptop doesn't even have a CD-ROM on it. The USB thumb drives have really spoiled us in the last few years. But as far as other ports go, it does have a PS2 port, which I was able to pick up a PS2 mouse. They still make these and sell them brand new, so that the USB port would remain free. It does have Ethernet via PCMCI card. I haven't tried it out yet. I don't want to connect this to the internet, but it has composite video out, serial, VGA, a proprietary port for a dock of some kind, a parallel port, and a headphone and microphone separate jacks. It also has a few features that I really love and miss about old computers. Dedicated volume up and down buttons, fold out feet to lift up the rear of the computer. Why did these ever go away? I guess probably because a few people use them and they are broken easily, but I love them. Even my old Toshiba Protege 610 CT has them. The CD-ROM bay, the floppy drive bay, the battery are all easily removable with just a latch. The hard drive, CPU cooler, and RAM are all easily accessible as well. with the first two hidden behind covers and the last under the keyboard. So why did I go for a laptop that already had Windows installed with a power cord, despite being priced a lot higher than some of the ones that might not already have a power cord or Windows installed? Really two reasons. One, time. My son's birthday is literally just a few days away, and I've been working on this for a couple weeks getting it ready. So I didn't have a lot of time, and so if I didn't have some parts, or if it was broken in any way, I kind of have to start all over or chase down those parts. And I was afraid I wasn't going to have it in time. And while the initial price was higher, if I had gotten one with a bad system board or a cracked screen or a malfunction keyboard or something like that, buying any of these parts alone often pushed the cost well above a fully functioning system. Since getting it, I've done a few things. First, I repasted the CPU. It is soldered to the system board and is not upgradable, but I pulled the cooler to check the fan and make sure it was clean and spinning freely, and it was actually very dust free. I was quite surprised at how clean the inside of this computer looked. But the thermal paste was every bit of 23 years old and very dry. So I got some Noctua thermal paste on there. Not a sponsor, just what I happen to have. I also removed the battery. I have it right here. While I have it here, I do not trust a battery this old to not catch on fire or leak. I do not expect my son to be pulling this around and using this really outside of his room. So it doesn't need the battery. It can just stay plugged into the wall. I may open this battery up if I can and pull what is left of the battery out and recycle it and just have the empty shell, because as of right now it just has a big empty hole on the side of the laptop where the battery goes, which I don't like. Yeah, I would like a little bit more support there, which it's meant to have the battery pack in there. So if anybody has any suggestions on how to do that, please let me know. I'd love to see that, or a place that maybe can do that for me. The CD drive and floppy drive worked perfect. I was able to get some files off the floppy drive, and I was able to read all the CDs I put in there, whether they be burned or actual CDs, or pressed CDs, I guess I should say. I played Riven. I played some other games on there that I have discs for, Need for Speed, things like that. They worked perfect. And then a USB mouse worked perfect as well. I recognized it right away. But then when I put in the USB thumb drive, it didn't work. So I had to do some troubleshooting. Couldn't find the drivers for it, so I went online and did a bunch of research and found some drivers that might work. I installed them. It broke the USB port entirely. I couldn't find the ERN.VXD device loader, so I had to go through the whole process to get that back onto the system. Got everything working to extract the files, got it working, and then I went to do my next upgrade, which was to take the old hard drive and clone it to an SSD that's an IDE capable. And what this really is a mSATA drive inside of an enclosure. I've used these for years. They work really good. I've used the same cable. I've literally had this since I was a teenager to move the files over, to clone the drive over. But for whatever reason, the OS did not want to run on this SSD. It would just hang and freeze. Nothing would load. Nothing worked right. And I spent forever troubleshooting that. I spent literally days troubleshooting that because I had everything set up on this drive, everything exactly how I wanted it. But the old drive, being that it's 23 years old, it is the original drive, still has stickers on it from Compaq. It's super loud, like super, super loud. And I just don't know how long it will last. So I wanted to clone it so I'd always have an image of the drive that worked. And if my son were to ever do anything to it, I could just clone the drive back and get it working again. I can always put another one of these if the one that's in there failed. These are like 12 bucks. mSATAs are another few bucks. They're not very expensive. I'll put a link to them in the description. The OS just did not work. And so what I ended up doing is just reinstalling Windows 98 onto the drive and just resetting up everything again. All that work I did to get things set up with the old drive were for naught. I even broke the USB drivers again. I had to go through and fix that again. It was just a whole thing. It was a lot of work, and it's taken me a couple of weeks to get this up and going for him, just as I had time to work on it. Trying to do it without him seeing, I have my job and then he's home and I don't want to see him. He likes to hang out in my office, so I had to kind of wait for him to go to bed for me to work on it, so it will be a surprise for him. So it's taken me a long time. So what have I put on here for him? First, I put a bunch of documentation, right? I have a PDF reader on here, and I put up a ton of PDFs for basic DOS programming, some stuff for some Java programming, some stuff for HTML. It does have front page installed in here. I have Office installed in here. I have some Java dependencies installed in here, because I really want to give them a chance to kind of just play around and figure things out. And just like I did, I would sit there and I'd read the documentation and then try it. And a lot of that has like test codes that you can put in there. And for me personally, being able to type something in, hit enter, and have it do the thing that I told it to do is a great feeling. And I'm sure in a lot of ways I'm more excited for this for him than he probably will be. I also put on here RPG Maker 2003. That's a thing where you can make your own role-playing game. So that's on here for him. And he has a huge imagination, so I'm hoping that he can translate that into making his own game. I know that if he can do that, he will absolutely love it. So yeah, if you have any thoughts or suggestions on what I can do with the system for him, anything I can install for what I would consider to be a fairly novice user when it comes to programming, I'd love your suggestions. Again, running Windows 98, Pentium 3, 450 megahertz, so obviously nothing too modern, but anything just to get somebody like that going, that really gives him a creative outlet. I'd love those suggestions. Just some small projects that you might recommend. I don't even know where. I'm going to try to get something for him to do on a monthly basis, a challenge per se, with a reward. See if he can do it. So anyways, if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, leave those down in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to answer, and I'll let you know what he thinks when he gets it. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.